What's going on, boys? Welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you guys again. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me. All right, today I am fixing something that has been an issue with my E46 for a while. Actually, not too long. This actually started when I got my S54 swap done, and I'm using a Zionsville radiator in that thing. And if you're unfamiliar with Zionsville, they make a badass radiator for this specific swap, but it's a huge 4-core aluminum big fat radiator specifically designed for an E36 with an S54 in it. Ever since then, the car has had a low coolant light on, and you know what, again, this goes back to that video I just did with when buying a car with, or an E36 with 240,000 miles on it, but more so, you know, it's 25 years old. I think the coolant level sensor is actually shot, and you know, all that level sensor is just a float. So it's almost like a bobber if you go fishing, but it basically just floats to the top, and I believe it's some sort of magnetic sensor. So when the float drops to a certain level, then it says low coolant, blah blah blah, and mine has just said that forever. So what I think happened, I haven't tested this yet, I'm not sure, but those bobbers can deteriorate over time. They can literally just kind of crumble, and I've seen a few videos of bobbers that have done that, or floats that have done that. So I think that could be the issue. So basically what I have to do is drain some of the fluid from the reserve tank, or drain as much of the fluid from the coolant reserve as I can, because that's where the sensor is located, and then remove the sensor from the bottom of the expansion tank and switch out that sensor, and hopefully that fixes my problem and we're good to go. So that's kind of all we have today. But anyway, I had to drop off some oil that I've used. I had to drop off some used oil over at O'Reilly's to get that recycled. So I needed to do that, got that done. Now we're on our way back home. It's a crappy day out. This isn't normal for Texas. It was literally 74 degrees yesterday. It was almost 80. I was in shorts. Ugh. So I started reading about S54 coolant flushes, S54 coolant, etc., etc. And I realized that I'm going to be getting a lot of crap from a lot of people on the interwebs about this, so I figured I better do it right. Here's what I mean. The S54 and just BMWs in general require a specific type of coolant. That coolant. There's a lot of debate over whether it is necessary to put that coolant in. A lot of guys say coolant is coolant. A lot of guys say no, you need the BMW coolant. Some guys just don't give a crap and they'll put anything in there. I even read a post from one guy that was like, oh, I just only use distilled water. It's probably not the best one, but I put green coolant in there, 50-50 premix, and you know, I'm trying to build this car right, trying to do things right. I have that expensive radiator up there. So I figured the best thing to do would be to drain all the green stuff out, put in the proper blue stuff, and go from there. I need to do a coolant flush anyway, because you know, this is all new stuff anyway, so I figured it's probably good to do a flush. So, time to do a coolant flush. Apparently it's not the hardest thing in the world to do. There is a drain plug on the block between cylinders 2 and 3. I haven't seen it personally, and I'm not sure that's where it is. Hopefully I'll be able to find it. So my plan is to drain the fluid from the radiator using the radiator drain plug, and then find the drain bolt on the block and drain that, and then fill it up with distilled water, and then drain that as well to make sure I get all the green fluid out. That's my goal, is to try and get as much as the green out so then I can replace it with blue. Again, I'm planning on draining all the green fluid, then replacing it with a bunch of distilled water. And since the distilled water really isn't going to be in there for long, I don't know if I need to use distilled. I can probably use a hose, but Again, I write a lot of stuff about distilled water versus hose water, blah, blah, blah. So I'm gonna use distilled water and I'm gonna fill it up and drain that all out to make sure I get all the green stuff out and then fill it up with blue. Wish I could talk to you guys live so I know if I'm doing this right, but you can tell me in the comments if I did it wrong, and hopefully I didn't. So anyway, like I've done a million times on this channel, let's jack this thing up. If you're new here, then you probably don't, this is close. You don't know that I have an under panel or skid plate for this thing. So the first thing I gotta do is take this thing off, which I don't remember it being as close to my face. All right, so now that we're under this, but I don't know why there isn't a, it's supposed to be a weird name, but it's a thing called a petcock, and it just is supposed to twist off, or basically like open a drain. And I thought that's what we used. I'm not sure why this is here, but it's what's there, so I guess I'll loosen it. All right, this part always sucks because you never know if you're gonna get, ow, 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 definitely something bit me, ow. Never know what is gonna happen when you loosen something like this. The only thing I have that fits the drain plug is the 3/4 bit, but the female end, that fits perfect onto this, but I don't have anything else that's supposed to be, so I'm just gonna put an open end wrench on the end of this and see if I can get it loose that way. Hopefully that will work. Oh, there we go. We're live. Okie dokie. Well, success. Alright, so radiator drained, ooh, and coolant on lens. Can't be good. It went everywhere. And then I just installed the petcock. And if you don't know what a petcock is, I'm not just saying it because it's a weird word. Here is right, bingo, that right there. So now all I have to do is twist that and it'll drain instead of taking out the entire plug and then dousing myself in radiator fluid and coolant. Now that the radiator is drained, I have to drain the overflow tank and I have to drain the block. The block has, from what I'm told, the block has majority of the coolant in it itself. So what I'm told is you find the drain plug in the block and you loosen it up to where it starts to drip down consistently, and then you just set it and forget it, because if you try and do what I just did with that, you're gonna take a shower in coolant. And as you saw from my reaction when the coolant plug came out, or the radiator plug came out, I don't like taking a shower in that stuff. So let's see if we can get a wrench on that thing, loosen up the coolant drain plug in the block, and go from there. So this one's gonna be really hard to show you guys, but I believe the coolant drain plug is, come on baby, right behind that canister. So right up there, there's a 13 millimeter, and I believe that's a coolant drain plug. Now I'm gonna confirm that, so don't take my word on it yet, but I believe that is where you wanna drain the coolant from. Now, getting to it, it's another question. All right, so you can kind of see this a little better. I moved, there's a canister that sits right here for the Vanos, must be some oil return line or oil feed. But there is a bolt right there, right there that you can see, and that is the drain plug for the block. And now what I'm going to do is try to avoid taking a coolant bath again. And everything I've read online just says to loosen the nut, it should be a 13 millimeter, slowly. Loosen it slowly. Once it starts to dribble out, put the drain pan under there and go grab a beer or go grab a drink or go chill, because you pull that thing out and you're gonna get hosed with coolant. So let's avoid that. All right. So good news is I can loosen that by hand, which is good. If I could form a little funnel, that'd be great, but I'm not gonna get picky with it. All right. So just so y'all know where I'm at, I've loosened it a lot, and we've got, all right, so I've loosened it a lot, and that's where I'm at. And I have a feeling if I go like a quarter turn more, I'm gonna get showered with coolant. So my plan is to let it drip out, but I want to let it drip out a little bit more than that, because we'll be here for days if I have to wait for that. All right, let's try a little bit more. Don't get greedy though. All right, so 2 minor problems. One, I realized that I parked my car too far back, and now I can't shut the garage, so I have to get this done tonight. And 2, you can't see it because my flashlight sucks, it's still draining. So that means I'm just gonna have to, I really didn't want to do this. I'm gonna have to just pull the plug and hopefully not take a coolant shower. Fingers crossed. Now, at this point you might be like, oh cool, it's back down on the ground. That means you're done. No. Remember how I told you I parked it too far back when I got it up? Yeah. So the only reason I got it down is because now I have drained everything. Everything is drained. The radiator's drained. The block is drained. I refilled the system back up with 2 gallons of water, I believe, right here. And since I have the Zionsville radiator, I fill it up through the expansion tank. It doesn't go directly into the radiator, but it still kind of goes into the radiator. So I put 2 gallons into the expansion tank. I hand tighten the bolt on the block because I mean I'm just going to be running it for like 30 minutes to get it up to operating temp. So then I'm going to push it forward a little bit, jack it back up, and then drain the system of the water, and then it should be fully flushed out of the green coolant, and then I can add the blue coolant back up. I probably should have tightened that bolt. I hope it doesn't matter. Worst case scenario, it leaks. What you can do. So now I'm going to run the car for 30 minutes with the heater on high, and that will allow the thermostat to open up, which will then start to cycle fluid, and then I can go back through and drain everything, hopefully getting rid of all the excess green coolant. I'll tell you what, this isn't hard. It's just a long process, and when you don't have a lift and you don't have the proper drain tools, it's not hard. It's just long. Situation update. Here's what we got. The car is back, jacked up. I know it looks like the front is higher, but it's not. The back is actually higher. But anyway, so I ran the car for 30 minutes, turned the heater up on high, full blast, to open the thermostat to get any of the green stuff that was in cycled through. So now what you have to do is drain the water that was in there, and the bad part about that means I gotta drain from the radiator in and drain from the block. It's not bad since I've already done it, but what that means for me is now I have to wait for the water to cool down, because right now it's probably like 200 degrees. So I gotta wait for that. And after doing some research, calling a couple buddies, I've read like an hour to an hour and a half, and then, you know, cautiously open it. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give it time to cool down, go inside, maybe edit some of this, maybe get some real work done. Day 3 of Flushgate. Dude, I'm telling, okay, first off, just so you guys know, it's hard to record when things take so long. I forget what I've already said to you guys. So if I'm repetitive, I try to edit most of that out, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense. And I know I've said this, I just forget when I've said this. This is not a hard job. It's not. It's a very simple job, but it just takes a while to heat the car up, let the car cool down, drain the fluid without creating a complete disaster in your garage. It's super easy. It's just super messy and time consuming. So what I'm doing now, I already started the car last night. I flushed it twice. I drained the green coolant, then I went and filled the system up with regular water, ran the car, got the car up to operating temp, thermostat opened, I had the heater on, then I waited for it to cool down, drained all that out. Then I went through last night, filled it back up with distilled water, ran the car with distilled water, got it up to operating temp. Then it was like 9 o'clock at night, so I shut it down. I let the car cool down overnight. I'm gonna drain this. This will be the second flush. I didn't really see any green when I was draining the first flush, but I just wanted to make sure. So this will be the second flush I did with distilled water. I'm gonna drain it now that it's cooled down, obviously. And once I do this, then I'll be able to fill the system up with distilled water and the BMW coolant. Then, not to mention, you got to figure out how to dispose of this. This isn't auto parts stores don't take coolant. You have to bring it somewhere else. Apparently, I didn't know that. So anyway, let's drain this. Hopefully not get soaked because I'm in dry clothes now. And yeah, get this thing done. All right, so I have a gallon of BMW coolant, a gallon of distilled water, and that pretty much got it to the very top. So now what I'm gonna do is turn the car on with the heater on, get it up to temp, and I believe this should go down a little bit. And as it goes down, I'm gonna slowly pour in 50-50 premix. There should be like half a gallon more that goes in. All right, boys, that's gonna do it. I filled the system up with a gallon of BMW coolant, a gallon of distilled water, and that brought it literally right to the brim. I ran it with the heater on to see if I could get any air bubbles to pop up through the system. I didn't. Everything looks good. I mean, I'm gonna consider that a job done. Again, I know I've said it in this video many times, and it seems like I just said it to you. I said it hours ago for me, but this is a really, really simple job. It's just messy and it's just time consuming. There's really not too much else to say. If you're gonna do it, jack the car up. You know, I did the method where you let the drain plug just kind of drip and stream, and I got it to where it was pouring out. That takes forever, man. It's really worth it to just bite the bullet and get a little wet and just open the thing up. But that's gonna do it. I'm gonna get the significant other down here because I need to rotate these tires since I haven't done it from the last track day. And then I plan on getting out to the track tomorrow, which is Friday. So maybe today based off of when I edit. There she is. Maybe today based on when I edit this, and possibly Saturday too. So if you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button. I got a lot more coming, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.